Let's continue our discussion on transport now. Taxi owners say government's offer of over 1 billion rand is not enough to offset their losses due to COVID-19. They say this will not be sufficient to keep some owners afloat. Now, earlier this week, Gauteng associations embarked on a shutdown to raise their concerns. Transport Ministers Fikile Mbalula, spokesperson Ayanda Allie-Paine joins us live now via Skype. Ayanda, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And now, there was supposed to be a meeting between the taxi industry and the Transport Ministry yesterday. That has since been postponed. Can you give us an update on when or if that meeting will be taking place?
Marcel, thank you very much for this opportunity that you've given us. A very good morning to you. Good morning to your viewers. Yes, indeed, Minister Mbalula had pledged to meet with the taxi sector this week. You'll know that that meeting was dependent on the outcome of his engagement with the NCCC. Some of the issues that are at stake here are questions about loading capacity and whether or not the taxis can resume operations at 100% as opposed to the current 70%. This was a plea from the taxi industry. The second plea was that they be permitted to travel interprovincially without the passengers requiring permits. So, as you know, that this government does not operate just in isolation in terms of it as a government, but also interdepartmentally in terms of all the affected parties. Minister Mbalula needed to take those issues to the NCCC and get feedback and comment and input from his counterparts before he can engage with the taxi industry. The minister has since done so. He has had a meeting with the NCCC, and the only thing that is now outstanding is for him to meet with the taxi industry, and that meeting will take place today.
Now, I did speak to a spokesperson from Santaco earlier. Tabiso Molelekwa was on our show much earlier this morning, and I asked them about what approach they'll be taking to this meeting. What do they need to hear from the minister to ensure that they and their members stick to these regulations and indeed don't cause the upheaval that was caused to so many commuters in Gauteng on Monday. And I asked them about the issue around the relief fund. I've told them the Transport Minister said he knows it's not enough, but that's all we have. How much faith does the ministry have that taxi associations will come to this meeting in good faith and won't just, as some have criticized them, saying that they are holding the ministry to ransom? Because if there's no money, there's no more money.
I think in this case, history is the greatest determinant of what the future may hold. Just a couple of months ago, in fact, almost a full year that Minister Mbalula was in office, his first engagement was with the taxi industry, and they spoke at length about what the future may hold for the sector, including subsidization going forward. And in fact, throughout all these lockdown regulations, every single stage that we've had, the minister has consulted with the taxi industry. And we've seen quite an amicable relationship there where needs be, government has had to concede. You'll remember the time when we tried to introduce 100% before the country was ready, and Minister 4 hours later rescinded that decision. And the taxi industry also has had to make concessions where needs be. They wanted cross-border travel, they wanted all manner of things. And when the minister said that's not permissible, it's not possible, they obliged. So there's been a lot of goodwill when it comes to negotiations. And so if we look at the past and the track record that we have as this current administration with the taxi industry, we have great faith that the taxi industry will see reason. They'll be able to understand where government is coming from, because at the end of the day, our objectives are the same. We want to see a healthy, thriving and sustainable taxi industry. The only question is, how do we get there? And that's what we're sorting out.
Now, the online news organization Ground Up is reporting just since yesterday that Santaco in KwaZulu-Natal are saying they don't care what's being said. Come Monday, they're going to be pushing 100% capacity, which of course is against regulations, and that the long-distance taxis will not be carrying permits, even if they get stopped by law enforcement authorities. Now, the spokesperson for Santaco says he believes that that's what's being said in KZN, but as far as he's concerned, that's not been a national decision by Santaco. What is the ministry's approach to these kinds of threats that we hear coming through, especially if it has an impact on the rule of law?
Look, first and foremost, it's important for us to state that we empathize with the plight of taxi operators and taxi drivers. We sympathize with them. We understand exactly what they're going through. We're not oblivious to their struggle. Many of them are struggling to put food on the table. Many of them are battling to even keep their vehicles. A lot of them have got responsibilities that they are not able to attend to because of COVID-19 and the regulations thereof. And so we understand that, like many other people in the country, and in fact all over the world, they're going through a very difficult situation. So it's from that angle that we approach what is going on now. We know that they're not trying to be lawless for the sake of lawlessness, but push has come to shove for them. Having said that, it is rather unfortunate that they would resort to these kinds of positions that are contrary to the regulation, because as I said earlier, we are trying to make sure that not only do they survive, but that they stay alive. When we put these regulations in place, it's for safety first. It's to make sure that lives are saved. So we do wish that they would see this process through. Minister Mbalula has said that he is looking into whether or not it's possible to resume operations at 100%. So he's not ignoring their call. He's saying, let's process it as according to the law. Let's get all the checks and balances in place. Let's dot the I's and cross the T's. So to have the province make that pronouncement, and it has not come officially to my knowledge, but to hear these kinds of reports is a little bit premature for the industry to sort of jump the gun, as it were, and go ahead and disregard the regulations when the minister is actively pursuing that we resume operations at 100% for the taxi industry, because the country may be at the right state at the moment. Again, emphasis on may, because the outcome of his discussion with the NCCC will only be known today.
Okay, we'll leave it there and we'll wait for that update. Thank you so much. Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula, spokesperson Ayanda Allie-Paine, thank you so much for your time and for that update this morning.